Hello, and welcome to the director's commentary for The Flame and the Flood. My name is Forrest Dowling, and I was the designer on the game, and you're going to be hearing a bunch from me throughout the game, wherever you see these little glowing cassette tapes. First off, I wanted to introduce some of the other voices that you're going to be hearing from. So without further ado, let me hand it off to Sync.
Hey, I'm Scott Sinclair. I was the art director on the game and a founder at the Molasses Flood.
And my name's Gwen. I was also a founder at the Molasses Flood, and I did the animations, the effects, and so forth for the game.
Hi, I'm Chad, and I'm also a founder of the Molasses Flood, and I am the environment artist on the game.
My name is Damian Isla. I was one of the two engineers on this project, and I focused on a bunch of the river generation, the AI, some control stuff, the Mac port, all kinds of things. With only two engineers, you end up having to cover a lot of bases.
So anyway, without further ado, feel free to run around this opening camp, look for the cassettes, frob them, as we say in the game design world, and listen to the commentary. This is the opening camp. We call this Camp Pinewood. This is kind of the continuation almost from the menu, which I think is kind of where the camp actually starts, and that was something that early on we were trying to do, is join the menu with the game.
Trying to make the main menu a piece of the narrative, actually have some meaning and kick off our mysterious story where you get a little glimpse of this unknown dog, Aesop, and this backpack and how that's actually delivered to your player character. And I really wanted to have that be an extension of the starting island and the initial quest, the main menu, that is.
Yeah, one thing that we wanted to do right at the start is kind of, you're always looking to raise questions and to give the player something to think about, while also giving them enough information to drive them forward. And I think that that's sort of like the big driving goal of these early moments, with the dog, the fire, the skeleton, the bag, the radio, was just, okay, so you're alone, you're in the woods, you've got this radio, there's a signal, but you don't know what it is, and there's this mystery, like, where did this dog come from? There's a glimpse at the backpack, and it's got this patch on it that, if you've played all the way through the game, you'll know what that means in the end. That was sort of where we started out, with trying to kind of raise all these questions while giving you just enough kind of meat to get you rolling. So that was sort of one of the big goals.
Gave us an interesting skin for those necessary evils, like the loading screens and streaming time and whatnot, that those bits and pieces along the way to the player finally getting control of the character for the first time, like had a bit of meaning.
Pinewood is one of the most special environments in the game for me. I think it's our oldest environment that stayed in the game. Like, we built a version of it for Kickstarter, and it became kind of our staging area for all of our new assets over time. When the new foliage and the new trees, cabins, all that came in. The iteration on how to light and what to do with the atmosphere, I think there are hundreds of different versions that we could go back to of Camp Pinewood, and pretty happy with the way it turned out.
Yeah, I think it's an example of the identity and character that we kind of wanted to place onto every location in the game, but that became tougher with procedural generation and the scope of the project. But
Right.
Yeah, I think it's a great example of a place, with an identity.
Yeah, it's kind of our
And its own character.
what we were hoping to reach. And I think some of the other bespoke locations got closer to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, in the campaign mode, definitely. It did become a challenge, I think, to preserve that and also figure out the amount of tutorial and design elements that we needed to sort of cram in there after the fact. But, so goes game development.
Watching people play, the first thing I sensed when watching playtesters play the game was in the opening camp they immediately fell in love with the dog. And I think that's part of the narrative work that Sync did early on, even from the Kickstarter. We had this scene where Aesop would drag this bag over to you and you would pet Aesop, and then Aesop would kind of playfully chase you around, and in the entry camp in the opening area, Aesop was always really happy, all the way through until you embark on the dock, and you have this moment where you pet the dog on as you start your journey. This built a lot of closeness between your character, Scout, and Aesop the dog, and I think that actually resonated with people pretty well. I think that was something we were pretty successful with.
I remember our goal related to that initially was to consider the player character as a three-part entity. You have Scout, the dog, and the raft, and wanting players to quickly feel like that combination of pals was the character, was your player, that the dog and the raft were a prime extension of your character.
And as things go awry in the game, the raft gets dinged up, and as well as you get dinged up, but Aesop's always by your side, your loyal dog. I was pretty happy with how Aesop turned out. I think he was a pretty lovable companion. So one of the most fun parts about being an animator on this project is every now and then I would just get a really awesome model from Sync and I'd think to myself, how can I push this and how can I have fun with this? And I remember this raft for the character when we first got it. I think everybody was imagining it would be this static raft. And I remember early on we were trying to come up with a way to transition between when you were on the river and when you were on land. And we needed some kind of visual to cover that up. And so I kind of made this docking animation and I was like, trying to figure out, is there going to be a rope on every dock that you tie to the raft? And then I just rigged up the raft so that the tire could come off and you could throw the tire over the dock. And as I did it, I thought to myself, oh no, Sync is going to kill me. I totally messed up his model to do this and probably stretching it. And he was like, he liked it. And that was kind of the beginning of the raft becoming a bigger and bigger thing.
You know, we certainly didn't think in modeling or in the concept phase of creating that route